The merchant ship Endeavour cut through restless waters under a slate-gray sky, its sails billowing in the early evening breeze. But as night crept closer, the calm shattered. Dark clouds rolled in like a suffocating wall, swallowing the horizon. The crew scrambled to secure the rigging as the sea began to roar, a violent, unforgiving force that churned beneath them. Waves towered like mountains, crashing over the deck, tearing splinters from the wood. Lightning split the sky, briefly illuminating terrified faces battling the storm's wrath. The ship groaned, straining under nature's fury. Then, a monstrous wave slammed the Endeavour side on, snapping the main mast like a twig. Panic erupted. Timothy, a young merchant apprentice, clung desperately to a broken beam as the ship fractured. Water swallowed the vessel, plunging him into icy black depths. Gasping for air, he fought the currents until the violent sea spat him out onto the shore of an unfamiliar island. The dawn revealed a bleak, rocky beach fringed by dense jungle. Timothy lay bruised and exhausted, the wreckage of his ship scattered like debris around him. Relief washed over him, he had survived. But something deeper gnawed at his senses. The island was silent, too silent. As twilight settled, a chill crept through the air. Timothy noticed footprints in the wet sand, large, uneven, and unlike any human tracks he knew. They circled the area, vanishing into the jungle's shadows. Uneasy whispers drifted on the wind, barely audible but persistent. He spun around, heart pounding, but saw nothing. Then came movement, dark shapes slipping between trees, just beyond sight. He wasn't alone. The island seemed alive with unseen watchers, their eyes gleaming faintly in the moonlight. Timothy's pulse quickened as the feeling of being hunted settled over him like a suffocating fog. Every snap of a twig and rustle of leaves was a reminder, the island held secrets darker than the storm that wrecked his ship. With night swallowing the world, the lone survivor faced a terrifying truth: the fight to stay alive had only just begun. Days passed on the island, and Timothy's hope of rescue slowly withered. Hunger gnawed at his belly, and the relentless sun beat down, but the unseen presence shadowing his every step weighed heavier than any physical trial. He had begun to notice strange things, fragments of old wood and rusted metal scattered beneath the jungle canopy. The relics weren't from his ship. They were older, decayed, buried in dirt and time. Curiosity and desperation drove him deeper into the tangled jungle, where twisted roots and thick vines clawed at his clothes. Suddenly, he stumbled upon a hidden cove, cradled by jagged cliffs, and there, half buried in sand and moss, lay the wreckage of another ship. Its rotting hull was cracked open like a broken shell, revealing glimpses of the past. As dusk bled into night, the air grew heavy and the jungle seemed to hold its breath. From the shadows emerged figures, faint, translucent, yet unmistakably human. Ghostly sailors drifted silently across the beach, their faces pale and eyes empty. They moved like echoes trapped between worlds, caught in an endless loop of their final moments. Timothy's breath caught as he watched one figure, a captain, still clutching a tattered logbook, retrace steps across the sand. Their whispers became voices in his mind, telling stories of a cursed voyage, of betrayal and despair. The crew's tragedy was etched into the island itself, a haunting curse that bound their souls. But the ghosts were not mere memories. They watched Timothy with a mixture of sorrow and warning, their hollow eyes pleading for release. As the night deepened, the line between past and present blurred. The island pulsed with restless spirits, and Timothy realized the shadows that stalked him were the remnants of lives lost to the sea. He was no longer just a survivor, he was a witness to a supernatural torment, trapped with the dead who couldn't move on. And as the cold wind whispered through the trees, a chilling question settled over him: would he be the next soul claimed by the island's curse? The island's dense jungle seemed to close in around Timothy like a living, breathing cage. Days blurred into nights as he scavenged for food, each step heavy with the weight of unseen eyes tracking him. The strange footprints from before returned, deeper and fresher, crisscrossing the ground beyond his reach. No matter how often he looked, Timothy could never glimpse the watchers, only their silent presence lurking just out of sight. One afternoon, Timothy stumbled upon a series of crude carvings etched into ancient stone pillars half buried in the undergrowth. The symbols twisted and coiled like serpents, telling stories he couldn't read but somehow understood, warnings, curses, and rituals long forgotten. Nearby, crude snares and traps lay abandoned, hinting at a hostile force guarding the island's secrets. As the sun dipped low, the jungle's shadows grew longer, and strange sounds echoed, low guttural growls, distant footsteps, and whispered words in a language Timothy couldn't decipher. His every instinct screamed at him to flee, but the dense forest offered no easy escape. That night, as a thick fog rolled in from the sea, Timothy sat beside a flickering fire. From the darkness, glowing eyes appeared, dozens of them, watching from the trees. The watchers moved with silent precision, never revealing their full forms, just glimpses of twisted limbs and faces blurred by shadow. Fear clawed at Timothy's mind, but so did a strange fascination. The island was not just haunted by ghosts, it was inhabited by something alive, something ancient and dangerous. Were these creatures descendants of the cursed crew? Or guardians of the island's terrible secret? The whispers grew louder, weaving through the night air like a sinister lullaby. Timothy realized he was trapped in a deadly game of predator and prey, where the rules were unknown, and the watchers held all the power. He could run, but where? The island was a prison, and its unseen inhabitants were closing in. The island's secrets pulled Timothy deeper into its grasp. After days of searching, he discovered a hidden entrance carved into the rocky cliffs, a narrow cave mouth just above the crashing surf. The roar of the ocean echoed inside, swallowing the light as he stepped into the dark, damp tunnel. The air smelled of salt and something older, something that whispered of forgotten horrors. Inside, the cave walls glistened with strange markings and faded symbols, carved by hands long gone. Timothy's flashlight flickered, casting eerie shadows that danced like specters. The ground beneath his feet was slick with algae, and the distant sound of dripping water echoed through the tunnels. Venturing further, he found the wreckage of ancient ships littered across the cave floor, broken timbers, rusted anchors, and shattered chests spilling long-decayed contents. It was a graveyard of lost voyages, a tomb where the sea kept its dead. But the cave held more than relics. Timothy's heart pounded as he glimpsed movement beneath the water's surface, something massive, something watching him from the depths. A presence stirred, ancient and malevolent, bound to the island by blood and salt. Suddenly, the water churned violently. Timothy scrambled backward as a monstrous silhouette loomed beneath the waves, tentacles curling like serpents, eyes glowing with a cold, otherworldly light. The creature was the source of the shipwrecks, the unseen terror that dragged vessels to their doom. Madness clawed at Timothy's mind as he fled the cave, the creature's roar echoing in his ears. He realized the island's curse was alive, breathing beneath the waves, hungry and vengeful. The sea was no longer his refuge, it was a prison, and the darkness beneath was waiting for its next victim. The days had blurred into weeks, and Timothy's resolve had hardened like the jagged rocks beneath his feet. His body bore the scars of hunger and fear, but his mind was sharper than ever, focused on one goal: escape. Using driftwood and vines, he painstakingly crafted a raft, a fragile hope bobbing against the endless waves. As twilight painted the sky in bruised purples and fiery oranges, Timothy pushed his makeshift vessel into the cold sea. The island silhouette shrank behind him, but the sensation of being hunted did not fade, it grew stronger. The whispers followed, riding the wind and crashing waves, carrying voices that twisted with malice. Dark shapes surfaced just beyond the raft's fragile edges, shadows with glowing eyes and twisted forms that lurked beneath the water's surface. Timothy's heart pounded as he paddled with desperate strength, the presence relentless, closing in. The island was not a place he could simply leave. The curse clung to him like a second skin, and the watchers, once unseen, were now relentless hunters. The ghosts of the lost crew emerged from the mist, their mournful faces silent but accusing. The ancient creature beneath the waves thrashed, seeking to drag him back. Timothy screamed into the night, the storm returning to greet him with wild winds and towering waves. The sea tossed him like a toy, but he fought with every ounce of strength. The boundary between life and death blurred as the island's dark legacy sought to claim another soul. But then, as dawn broke, the shadows receded. Timothy's battered raft drifted into calmer waters, the island's curse momentarily broken. He was alive, but forever marked, no longer truly alone, for the island's dark spirits would follow him always. His escape was not an end but a beginning. The sea had given him back his life, but the terror of the island would haunt him until his last breath.